what we trust says on the bill, from boom to bust. Make it a thrill, make them steal your life, dominate your goals, make a trouble and strife.
Hi there, Jonny here from JonnyLipshamStudios.co.uk, and welcome to episode 5 of the Paper Deity mixing series. And today we are going to tackle the two-part horn section, which is a trumpet and tenor saxophone, and the solo tenor saxophone as well. So we're going to tackle both of those today. So this should actually be a relatively short video. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to experiment a little, because you know, kind of these are kind of background instruments, although the solo tenor sax is a little bit more of a featured instrument. So we're going to treat the solo tenor sax as kind of as if it's like the vocal. We're going to treat it special and nice in a way that we won't treat anything else. So we may use processing on the tenor sax and the lead vocal that we wouldn't use anywhere else, because we want them to have their own unique sound. We want them to stand out. Because they are the feature for this song. And the horn section itself is just kind of, it's a coloration. It's kind of like an extra texture, an extra kind of dimension to catch the ear and keep the ears engaged. And I just hit the mic again. Keep doing that. But yeah, so we're going to experiment a little bit with different EQs and different compressors and see what we like. So we're going to start with just the two-part horn section. And we will mute the tenor sax for now. We'll come back to that because that's going to take a little bit more time to shape because, as I say, it is the feature. So hopefully we should be able to dial in these horns fairly quickly. And we'll maybe add a little bit of reverb to them as well when we get to that point. At the moment, we're just dialing in tones and everything else. And then once we've finished this bus mixing phase, which we've nearly done, because the next thing to do after this video is the backing vocals and lead vocals. Once we've done that, we'll go and do some more specific and surgical kind of jigsaw style mixing, like I referred to in the last video, on the individual channels, and we'll see if we can shape individual tones on individual channels. And then we will get to adding the ambient effects and all of that. So this should be pretty good fun. Okay, so let's just take a listen to where we are so far, and then we'll get stuck into the horns. Alright, so we've got a nice rhythm section balance. We just need to work on these horns. So what we're going to do is we're going to maybe focus in on this little bit here, because there's a lot more detail here of the actual horns. So we're maybe looping this little bit here. And we'll do a little bit of overall tone shaping on these guys, and we'll maybe go in and do a little bit of individual stuff afterwards. So let's get the mixer window back open, and let's just play this bit. So these guys need pulling forward a little bit in the mix. So we can do that with some compression, but we can also do that with some EQ. There's some low-end stuff in the EQ that we don't need. So let's go and grab the fat channel, and we'll get to work on this. So we'll just switch these around, and we'll maybe go with a little bit of this guy here, the passive, and we will we'll maybe cut everything below 100. I don't normally do this this specifically, but we'll try this, and we'll try opening up the top end as well a little bit. And I'm kind of doing this without really listening, so let's have a listen. Let's get these in solo so we can just give them a little bit more focus. Just maybe switch up the EQ. Let's try this vintage one instead, actually. And let's kind of do the same kind of thing here. Let's do a bit of a cut here. And let's maybe open up these mids here a little bit. And we'll open up the top end a little bit. And we'll open up here a little bit as well. Let's try this. Okay, let's put these back in the track and see what that does. Okay, that's made them a lot brighter and a lot clearer. So, and pulled them forward just with the EQ, just pulled them forward. Now, you notice that I did turn them up a little bit as well. I kind of realized that I think perhaps they were just a little bit buried as it was anyway. So let's do a quick A/B test with the EQ. So this is with... without. Yeah, that's made quite a bit of a difference. Let's just do that again, and you should be able to hear this nice and clearly. Just how much more the tenor sax in particular, as well as the trumpet, they have a little bit more bite, and they push through the mix a little bit better. Now that I've opened up the 1.6, I think this is 1.8K, I've opened up a little bit, and I've opened up some of the 7 area as well. And this cut down here has made a big difference. So switching actually from the passive EQ to the vintage EQ has made a bit of a difference. So, you know, this is how it is when you're mixing. You experiment with different EQs until you find something that really works for that particular track, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, made a nice bit of difference there. So what we'll do now is we'll go and get some compression going as well. So I think we'll go with the LA2 for this. And we're just wanting to get, I'm going to go for the LA2A style, the tube compressor, because it's nice and smooth, and it's actually fairly transparent as well. So we kind of want that, I think. So let's go and work on this. Yeah, I think we've got that sounding pretty nice now. The LA2A is doing a nice job of just smoothing things out and evening out some of the notes, because that first little phrase, the last note of the first phrase, is really quite loud. And you can see that the needle on the compressor is knocking off down to about 5 dB just on that one little phrase, that one little note at the end of the phrase. Which evens it out quite nicely. And the compressor's doing a good job of bringing these two guys nice and forward, but without making them stick out too much. So let's hear that with everything engaged, and I'm not going to A-B this time, we're just going to hear the final result. Yeah, and it helps nicely with the longer notes as well, helping those notes sustain. So that's quite nice and quite effective. All right, let's get on to the tenor sax solo. So we'll set ourselves up towards the end of the song here, where this extended solo section is here. So let's bring this guy back in. And we're going to have a listen to what this sounds like as is before we start shaping it. It actually sounds like, to me anyway, listening to it, sounds like it's already a pretty solid recording that I captured on the day, albeit this was recorded in my old studio, so the room is small, and of course the tenor sax makes a very big sound. So you are going to hear some room tone a little bit, so we're going to have to try and work around that a little bit maybe. So here we go. Okay, I'm kind of, excuse me, I still have my cold. It's been lingering around for weeks, and I really want to get rid of it. So I'm really sorry. I still have a lot of phlegm and stuff kicking around. So if you hear me coughing and that kind of thing, that'll be why. Okay, so with this, I think, again, we want to be nice and smooth and nice and gentle. We don't want to be grabbing this particularly. It does need some compression because there is quite a wide dynamic range in the instrument in the way it was played. Certain phrases, certain notes are a little bit bedded, and then some really, really pop out. So we kind of want to even that up. So again, I think we'll use the LA2 style compressor for that. Or maybe we'll use something else. Like the other thing I have in my mind is maybe using the Brainworks BX Opto compressor. At least giving this guy a try and see what it does with the Tenor Sax. We may not like it. We may decide just to stick with the LA2A style compressor. We'll see. So let's get the fat channel, because I'm going to use the fat channel for EQ, I think, on this. So let's go grab that, and let's rotate that over, and we'll go and grab, we'll go for the vintage again, I think. And let's have a play with this. Okay, yeah, it took me a little bit of while there, just because I wanted to experiment a little bit with how much I could push this vintage EQ, because you can be quite aggressive with it, and I wanted to do that, but with without making the tenor sax sound like a bee in a jam jar. So I had to experiment a little bit and just kind of like crank it a few times until I found something that I really quite like. So that's kind of what I've done, really, just opening up again that 1.8 area and a little bit of the upper mids and some highs and rolling off the lows. So fairly similar to what we did with the EQ on the horns bus for the two-piece horn section. So that's worked quite nicely. Okay, so let's go and try out the Brainworks and see if this actually helps or hinders. It would be interesting to see. I recently got this, and so I'd be interested to see kind of how this works. So let's give it a try. All right, I think this is actually working quite nicely. Yeah, taking me quite by surprise, this little guy. So let's hear what that sounds like in context. Yeah, I'm liking that. Please do leave your comments below what you think about the Brainworks Opto compressor. This is, as I say, the first time I've used it, and already quite liking it on this tenor sax, but that's just kind of my first impression. I guess as we go down the line, I might review later on and decide that I'm going to swap it out for another compressor, but I quite like this. Maybe we could try A-Bing it with the, maybe we could bring in the LA2 and we could do a little A/B test maybe. So let's go and maybe just turn off the Opto and let's try the LA2, and then we'll switch between the two and see if we like it. Okay, I've got the LA2 dialed in a bit, so let's now do a switch between the two. We'll A/B between the Brainworks and the LA2, and we'll see which we like. So let's turn off the LA2, and let's turn on the Opto compressor and see which we prefer. Okay, I'm actually personally leaning towards the Brainworks Opto. It just has a different tonality to it. It kind of, for me anyway, and I'm listening on headphones because I can't use my speakers and my mic at the same time. I'll get horrible feedback. So I'm doing this on headphones, and in these headphones, it certainly sounds like the Brainworks brings out some of the girth of the instrument a little bit more as well compared to the tube comp, the LA2 style compressor. So at the moment I'm kind of preferring the Brainworks, but I'll maybe come back and review this later on in the day and see if I still like it, having not listened to it for a while. So there we go. So that's the horns and the tenor sax solo. All mixed. So next week we will get into the backing vocals and the lead vocals, and we will then get into individual channels. We'll do a review of the whole mix and see if there are anything that's kind of sticking out as an issue with the individual channels, and if they are, then we'll go and do some surgical EQ. If not, we'll leave them alone, and if we decide that the mix sounds pretty good as it is, then we'll start dialing in some ambient effects, some delays and some reverbs, because at the moment this is a totally dry mix, so it may well, as it stands to you, it probably sounds pretty dry and a little bit sterile. So we'll add some reverbs and some delays and that kind of stuff, and hopefully that will just open the whole mix out. And of course we will check the whole thing in mono. We'll do a session where we just hit the mono button and we just go and we check everything, and we make any further adjustments that we need to make sure we've got some good separation going on here. So there we go. I hope you have found this video useful, helpful, and instructive, and if you have, please do hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button as well and the notification bell, so that way you will know about next week's video when it comes out. And the next video you will see from me will be on Sunday for my Sunday Night Live show, which happens at 6 p.m. Central Time, Central Daylight Savings Time. So check that out and come and join me and ask your questions, and I will endeavor to answer them. If you've got any questions or any comments about this video or this series, please pop them in the comments below, or you can come and join the show on Sunday and ask your questions there, and I'll answer them there as well. So failing that, I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next video. And I'm just gonna press that button there, and finally I'm going to press this button over here. Okay, I'm ready. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
In God we trust, says on the bill, from boom to bust, make it